This is the Vegan Breakthrough Podcast, episode number 6. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hey everyone, welcome to Vegan Breakthrough Podcast, and today we have an amazing guest, Kat, an author of Vegan Artichoke, a vegan lifestyle brand dedicated to sharing recipes, resources, and much, much more. Kat helps people to start their vegan journey and offer guidance for new vegans. Hi, Kat. Thanks for coming for this interview.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. And I just said a couple of words about you, but can you please expand a little more and tell our listeners more about who you are, what you do, your YouTube channel, who is it for, and what topics do you cover in your videos?
Sure. So I am actually a full-time traveler and a long-time vegan. I currently live in a camper van with my husband and 2 dogs, which I know is a little out there for some people, but for a lot of people, so is veganism. So I've always liked to make those jumps. I have been creating resources for about 2 years now to help people transition to veganism, but specifically in a way that promotes balance. A lot of vegans tend to be very health-centered, which I think is amazing, but sometimes I think that is part of the intimidating factor for people. So I like to show people you can eat vegan comfort food and try all these different vegan products and give people an idea of what kind of a regular vegan life can look like, where, you know, I kind of fall in the middle between junk food and healthy. And I want to give people that idea and show them that it can be a lot simpler and easier than it seems as this big, like, scary vegan health thing.
Yes. And can you share also how you became vegan in the first place?
Yeah, actually, I was, like most people, an animal lover all of my life. I dabbled in vegetarianism, and my little brother, who is training to be an MMA fighter, actually, a very kind of traditionally masculine thing, just went vegan overnight. And he showed me a bunch of footage of factory farms. And as soon as I saw that, I was just like, I can't believe I've ever eaten meat and I can't do this. And I just went vegan overnight. And I think I was about 19 then. And unlike most people, I was very fortunate because my husband and my entire family went vegan when I did, or most of my family. So we just started and kept going.
That's rarely happens in my experience, I would say. So your family and relatives, they basically supported you right from the start, right?
Yeah, at least my close family, my mom and my sisters, they were all totally on board. I mean, my little brother, I got to give him the credit. He really pushed us all to do it. But everyone just kind of got on the same page, and it was really cool. And I have heard from a lot of people that it's very rare that so many people are so accepting of the idea. So I'm very grateful for that.
Oh, definitely. Every vegan has his or her why they are vegan. Some people do it for the planet, some people do it for the animals, some people do it for the health. So initially it was for the animals, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the core of everything I do, I really am an animal rights activist.
Okay. And for these years that you have been vegan, what was the hardest thing for you about being a vegan?
Honestly, I think the absolute hardest part, and I think this probably still is for me, is the social aspect, especially being social with non-vegans. In the beginning, as I was transitioning to veganism, obviously like most vegans, I was a little passionate. I spoke about it a lot to a lot of my friends, and I think it made them uncomfortable. And, when you go through any personal growth, even if it's just a regular change, it makes it hard for other people to adjust to who you are. And I think I lost a lot of friends during the time that I first went vegan, maybe because I was a little too intense, if I'm being honest, but also because I think it's especially easy for people who are not vegan to feel alienated or judged just by your lifestyle choice, even if you don't say anything. And I think that's really hard because, you see all these people that you love and respect, and then you realize that they're doing something that you really can't respect, and it's hard to figure out what to do with those relationships when you get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. And I also saw a video on your YouTube channel, your book review, a vegan freak book review. So do you think this book will be helpful for new vegans who is worried about the social aspects issue?
I definitely recommend that to new vegans. I really like that book because it kind of gets in your face about some stuff. But I think they also take some time to talk to, vegans who are already vegan, who are a little excessive or overexcited about it sometimes, and be like, look, guys, if you want people to hear what you have to say, you have to calm down about it. And I think that's really important because I am a very passionate person, and I know lots of other vegans are, and it's so intense that it scares people away sometimes. So I really recommend that book because it really lays it out for you in an honest way and tells you the best way to communicate with the people in your life.
There is a time for every conversation, and sometimes it's just not appropriate to bring some intense topics, right?
Absolutely. You really have to cater to each person's needs when you talk to them to some extent. And if you just throw like everything you know about veganism out there at someone all at once, you're going to totally shut them off.
Can you tell us more about your ebook, Killer Vegan Barbecue? When did you decide to create this ebook? Yeah, and tell us just more about this ebook.
Oh, sure. So I actually wrote a previous book to this that was holiday themed, and it was for new vegans who wanted to get through Christmas and Thanksgiving and all those with their family. And I thought, that was really fun, and I really wish that I had a resource like that when I first went vegan. So what if I came up with something for like the all-American holiday, which is like 4th of July? I wanted to make something that I could really impress them with. I wanted to create foods that really mirrored a lot of the American barbecue foods. Mm-hmm. That just blew a lot of the impressions people have about veganism out of the water. I kind of just went with it. I mean, living in a van, we cook over a fire a lot. And as I was cooking seitan sausages one time over the fire, I thought, how cool would it be if I could make like 15 or 20 recipes or even more that I could cook all over a fire and give those to people and they could do the same? And it just kind of went with it from there. But my goal is just to give people the total barbecue experience so they don't ever feel like they're missing out on anything by going vegan, and hopefully in that way encourage people to be vegan and be fully vegan because they don't have to feel like in social situations they can't participate, especially because the barbecue is like such a big one,
So basically you were writing this ebook while living in a van, right?
Yeah, and that was actually a bit of a challenge, but I made it happen.
Great. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit more about your current lifestyle? So you're living in your camper van full time?
Yes. I think a lot of people don't understand what it's like because they think it's like a full-time road trip. But my husband and I actually bought a 98 Ford Econoline, and we ripped out all of the seats and the carpet, and we put in a bed and an electricity setup and a fridge. And so wherever we want to go camping, we drive our car and we park it, and we can sleep in the car. We can sit out under the stars and explore forests. We're really into mushroom hunting. So we mushroom hunt all over the country and just live our, really simple, low impact life.
Wonderful. So in what area of the United States are you traveling around?
I am actually currently in Texas visiting family, but we generally stick to the Pacific Northwest, at least while the weather's hot, because it's much milder there. And that's where we lived before we moved into our van. And we really wanted to have the opportunity to explore the area more without being anchored by, we have our house and we have to go back to it and have to go back to work. So now that I work online full time, we can go all through the mountains there in places we never got to explore before. It's a very unique experience.
Mm-hmm. And how long are you planning to live in the van?
I honestly don't know. We thought about the first year, feeling it through. As winter rolls around, I'm sure we'll start to feel like, do I want to stay in this van? Because it's very well insulated, but when it gets cold, it's still uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Just playing it by ear for now.
What do you think are the simplest ways to start living more environmentally friendly? Because I saw a couple of videos on your channel that you cover these topics. So for those people who are absolutely new to this topic, but they're interested in that, what are the simplest ways to start living more environmentally friendly?
I think you can start really little. Like obviously the number one thing I tell people when they want to be good to the environment is go vegan. But if that's a little big for you, just start by noticing what plastic items you're using. For example, how many plastic bags are you coming home from the grocery store with? How many produce bags are you throwing away? How many plastic clamshells are you recycling or throwing away? And think about where in my daily life could I replace those with something that's reusable, or plastic water bottles. People don't really see the impact of the things that they're throwing away, like plastic. And when you recycle it, you get this kind of, I think, false sense of like doing good because you're like, yeah, I recycled it. It's good for the environment. Recycling is really not that great for the environment. Sure, you're not throwing it away, but it's still very energy intensive. So I think finding really simple items like grocery bags and water bottles that you can replace with something reusable is a really good start.
I found a statistics that says that about 2% of the current world's population are either vegan or vegetarian, but about 10% of them is former vegan or vegetarian. And another statistic that says that for all new vegans that are just starting out their vegan journey, their vegan lifestyle, the vegan diet, about 84% of them will eventually move back to either vegetarianism or to even to eating animals. So what do you think? What's the primary reason for that? Why people are sliding back from veganism to either vegetarianism or to meat eating, for example?
Oh, wow. I really had no idea that so many people stopped being vegan. That's an interesting question. And perhaps there's a lot of answers, but I wonder if maybe it does go back to the social aspect that I talked about a little bit that I've struggled with. Mm-hmm. I was living in Texas, which is a very meat-heavy state when I first went vegan. And other than my family, I didn't know anyone that was vegan online or in person. And I think the lack of community, especially when you're surrounded by people who do eat meat and who encourage it, and when you're surrounded by a culture that is really heavy on it, you're seeing hamburger ads. And I think it just gets to be a bit of peer pressure maybe, mm-hmm. or it's hard for you to see what you're doing and what impact you're making on a daily basis. And when you don't have this community that really talks about veganism with you and keeps it, there in your mind, perhaps people forget their initial motivation. Mm-hmm. I think with any big commitment like that, you do have to keep pushing yourself sometimes. It can be very hard to be vegan. I mean, staying with my husband's family, they are actually not vegan. Mm-hmm. And I watch them all day eating meat and cheese and stuff. And it's not that I'm ever tempted to eat it, but I can watch them do it and remember wow, yeah, I do miss being able to just order a pizza from wherever I want. It's very convenient. And I think probably the combination of that, the comfort and the easiness of it that you're used to and seeing all the people around you do it, I think that could really contribute to it. And I think it's really important that people can find other vegans to, talk to about their issues and to, support each other and to keep each other encouraged when they're really feeling like, this is too much effort and I don't know if I want to keep doing it because I can't really remember why I started.
Basically, you think it is very important to, as much as it possible, especially when you're just starting out your vegan journey, to surround yourself with other vegans, to be plugged in this vegan movement, to participate maybe in some social events by vegan groups, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you can't find another vegan or vegan groups in your city, there's so many great online communities on Facebook and other social media sites. Even if you can just find someone to talk to on Instagram and be like, I'm a vegan, I'm struggling, I think that can really help you because people who are long-term vegans especially have definitely been through it. Whatever it is, it's probably happened to them. So hearing someone else's experience can give you that encouragement and that push you need to stay committed.
And I assume you like reading books. What are your best vegan books, or maybe books that are related to veganism in some sense that you have read, maybe the books that touched you the most?
My absolute favorite book that I read when I first went vegan was actually by John Robbins. It's The Food Revolution. Mm-hmm. And it surprised me that I enjoyed that one because I actually tend to really snore over nonfiction. It kind of blew my mind. When I went vegan, I knew all of this stuff about the health aspects and the animals, but he just put it into a way that really resonated with me. And so I love to read John Robbins' work. I don't know if you're familiar with his story. He actually, I believe, was supposed to inherit the money from a really, really big ice cream company that's a huge dairy mogul, right? And he turned down his inheritance because he disagreed with the ethics of using dairy. And mm-hmm. I really respect that. And so his work I've always found to be incredibly interesting because I think he did such a brave and scary thing.
Okay, perfect. Can you share a piece of guidance for our audience, for people who want to try vegan diet or vegan lifestyle, but just afraid that it will be difficult for them? Gosh, what would I eat? And it will be inconvenient and everything. So what would be a piece of guidance for those people who are just starting out and afraid that it will be too difficult for them?
I think the thing is, don't think about it as this huge life change. Oh my gosh, I have to do this and this and this. Think about just today. What did you eat today? What have you done in this day that's not vegan? Think about only your food choices for breakfast. Are you eating oatmeal? Could you skip putting butter in it maybe? Or could you put soy milk in your coffee instead of almond? And think about it only until dinner. Once you think about that and see how manageable just those decisions are, think about 1 week, break it down so that you don't feel like you have to change your whole life overnight. I think it's really great when people do go vegan overnight, mm-hmm. but even people who do, quit eating meat cold turkey, you still have stuff in your fridge you have to worry about and non-vegan shampoos. And it's okay that it takes you some time to transition out of that. So if you're considering veganism and you just feel so overwhelmed by it and you think it's this humongous thing, just break it down. I think that's really how I have been able to transition to veganism and stay that way. It's because I don't have to think about it like this New Year's resolution where, oh no, I have to, change all this stuff about myself if I'm going to be good. It's like, I just have to change myself today. And I have to choose to change myself again tomorrow and keep doing that until one day you wake up and you realize, wow, these daily choices add up to a really big impact in my longer lifespan.
Also, can you share the best way people can connect with you? Is it your website, your YouTube channel, your Instagram? In what social media do you communicate the most?
Actually, probably the best way to reach me is on my YouTube channel because I have a chance to read comments a lot more than I have a chance to check out the contact section on my website. You can email me via Vegan Artichoke email that is available on my YouTube channel and my website. But like I said, I do live in a camper van, so my internet is fairly limited, and most of the time I'm checking YouTube comments more often than emails.
Wonderful. And the last question that I have, what do you think about the modern vegan movement? More and more vegan bloggers that are sharing their message and more vegan products that appear in our supermarkets and everything. What do you like about modern vegan movement and what do you think can be improved?
Well, I really like the artisan vegan cheeses, but I think it's really exciting and I really like that so many people are feeling brave enough to put their voice out there because it can be scary when you get some hate from people that feel very defensive. And sometimes it does feel like there's pushback. So I really like that people are feeling brave enough to not only put their voice out there, but to create things like, for example, artisan vegan cheeses that it's probably in the beginning hard to get anyone other than a vegan to buy it because people are so weirded out by, you made this cheese out of cashews. But I think that's really amazing because someone could buy it and try it and be like, this is what vegans eat. This is so good. And this is so easy. Like I had no idea. Something that probably the most vocal mainstream vegans that I see talking about could improve on is focusing a little less on health. Or health food or healthy eating. I think that's a very important aspect of a healthy lifestyle. And I think a lot of people who are vegan naturally gravitate towards it because, eating a whole foods plant-based diet, you're already eating pretty healthy by default. But sometimes I think it just makes people feel a little more limited. Veganism already comes across to them as something that holds them back from things that they want. And then when they're told, well, you have to eat raw or you have to eat this many salads or this many pounds of greens and you have to eat all these healthy things and no, you can't have cheeseburgers and you can't have vegan cheeses because there's too much fat. It just starts to feel even more limiting. Continuing to incorporate that health aspect is very important, but maybe reminding people that it's absolutely a choice to be healthy. And if they want to, treat themselves to French fries or vegan cheese or something that's higher in fat or has no greens in it, that's absolutely okay too.
Yeah.
And I think if we could just remind people more about balance than the perfectionism of being healthy, that would really help some people who feel too restricted come into the movement.
Okay, Kat. Well, thank you so much for this interview. It was very interesting and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your invitation and I've really enjoyed this.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Check out Vegan Artichoke YouTube channel. It has a lot of great stuff. And let's get this conversation going. Send us your questions on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. And thanks again for being with me on this journey. Animals need our help. Let's make this world vegan. Bye, guys.